Hey, Senda.
Hey, Phil.
Can you help me figure out where to put all these game books?
Yeah, wow. You got a lot.
I know.
You got a few? Maybe
A little bit.
some of these need to be like stored or something?
Yeah, they're probably not all going to fit up on the shelves. So maybe we should start sorting them and figure out what's going up on the shelves. And welcome to another fine episode of Panda's Talking Games. I'm your host with game books that date back to the 1970s, Phil.
And I'm your other host, Senda, who does not have game books dating back to the 1970s because I was not born yet. Just to be clear.
So never mind that.
Not even a concept in my parents' minds yet in 1970.
Well, I wasn't either in 1970.
Okay,
the 70s.
Okay. Well, I mean, do you mean like 1979?
Yeah, like that, which is still before you, but well within range for me.
Sure.
Anyway,
Sure.
What are we talking about tonight?
So, on tonight's show, I could have brought up the Slack message if we'd been thinking about it, but I did not.
Let's paraphrase.
Sure. So Andrew Dacey asked us on the Slack room if we would chat about how you organize or things to think about when organizing physical game books. We did a whole episode about organizing your digital game books, right? So this is going to be the episode in which we kind of do the physical half of that and just chat about some of our thoughts about where to put things and how to think about them. And of course, take the bits of it that are useful to you, think about them, and have fun with them, and leave anything that doesn't work.
So at this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, how the hell are they going to do a whole episode about physically organizing books? But trust me, when you have a type A personality like mine, a lot of thought goes into how you're going to arrange this stuff.
I'm very confident we will be able to talk about this for 45 minutes, and we will probably need to keep it kind of concise.
Probably.
Just saying.
Yeah. So let's do a little bit of definition to get us started, right? When we're talking about physical components for games, first of all, we're not going to talk about board games. There are bajillion shows that will talk to you about how to, store your board games. Go ask the Tabletop Bellhop how to store board games. Mo will help you out. Technically, Mo could help you out with this too, because I've seen his RPG collection. But for tonight, we are talking about role-playing games. And so we're going to have to talk about a couple different types of components. We're not going to list all of them, obviously, because that would be way too complicated. But primarily, we're going to be talking about books. And, so soft cover, hard cover, 6 by 9, 8.5 by 11, every other weird size in between.
Thing in between.
Right.
James D'Amato's new micro RPG book, which is like a damn square.
Right. Well, Cartel is a square as well.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we're going to talk about all those. We're going to talk about... So we're going to talk about all types of books, modules, core books, supplements, all of that. Box sets. So not only old box sets, right? Because I'm old, so like I have the Cyberpunk 2013 box set. I have some D&D.
Oh my goodness!
I know.
Were we supposed to be living in the Cyberpunk future in 2013?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Dear.
Yeah. Totally was supposed to be. Yeah.
Well, we've invented our own Cyberpunk.
2020
future,
was like the second edition of the game. 2013.
The tech is way worse.
Way worse. And
but the corporate part seems to be on par.
Right on track. The names are different, but right on track. So box sets, but also newer box sets. Like I have Companion's Tale. You have Fiasco is now a box set.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So we are going to talk.
I have Fiasco.
We are going to talk about box sets. And if you have board games, maybe you're just going to put them over with your board games. But if you're not a board game collector, we're going to talk about box sets as well, because we should talk about how to stack those up. Then once we get beyond books, then we got to start talking about all the other stuff. Dice, maps, minis,
Decks.
terrain decks.
Decks are a huge part of my games for some reason.
Absolutely.
Everything needs tarot cards, specific cards, or normal playing cards.
Sure.
I have a lot of decks.
I mean, I've got, you know what? I mean, one of my favorite Powered by the Apocalypse games is Masks, and I have 2 separate decks for that game. I have the villain deck, and I have the deck that has like the XP and influence cards and all that. But those are 2 decks, and Numenera's got decks associated with it. So yeah, card decks are a big thing.
Yep.
Okay, so that's like what we're going to talk about for organizing and storing. So we'll start off with books because books are very uniform, very pleasant. And your option for storing books is pretty narrow, actually. So when we talk about storing books, obviously our primary way to store books is going to be the bookshelf.
No one can see that behind me is one of my many bookshelves.
Yeah, I know that there's one bookshelf behind you, but I also know there's like 3 more in front of you that I can't see on camera.
Yes,
Okay.
true fact.
So bookshelves are going to be the primary way. Now, that's not the only way, right? There's bookends, right? So you can put them on shelves with bookends.
Yeah, mantelpieces.
Yeah, like but essentially, it's all the same thing. You're going to stand up books and make them stay standing.
Yes, make them pretty.
I will say, in my experience, that I prefer bookshelves over the stands, especially the like the ones you get like at Office Depot, those thin metal ones, because paperbacks do fine with those. But like, you know,
hardcovers will just take them out.
Yeah, like a 400-page hardcover is just going to fold that thing in half.
Yeah.
Or, you know, slowly bend it or whatever. Okay. So you don't have a ton of options, right? You got bookshelves, and then you got, you know, the bookends like we talked about. And then you've got like boxes, right? Because you could just cold store these like in boxes.
Yes.
And then you've got some variations to that. And we'll talk about that a little. But what I rather would talk about is I'd rather talk about what you're storing and why what you're organizing and why you're organizing it. And then that will help us kind of get into talking about in finer detail, specifically how to organize each of those categories.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that seems good.
We brainstormed off 4 categories. Would you like to take the first one? I'll give you the first one, or would you like me to take the first one?
So sure. Well, so the first one is the stuff that you are actively using right now.
Yep.
The first one is stuff that I am currently running this game.
Yes. Or playing in this game.
Or whatever it is, right? This is the stuff that I am actively using. So this category of books, these are the ones you specifically want to think about from the perspective of, I want these to be handily available to me whenever I play, or, you know, that I want to be able to just pull out that book when I sit down at my desk on Thursday nights or whatever, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that Thursday night is my game night or anything. Yeah. So I those are the ones that it's like, you know, if you have limited bookshelf space, that is in the most easily accessible areas of your, you know, living arrangement, these are the ones that take priority over all of the others so that they are accessible, right?
Yeah, and so the things you want to consider is, like, for instance, I have bookshelves on 2 floors. So I have a bookshelf here in the basement where I'm recording, and I have a bookshelf in my office. Now, as a parent, I have to share that bookshelf. So the bottom half of the bookshelf is like kids stuff, and I have the top halves of the bookshelves, right? Because also when the kids were little, I did not want to put any of my like older games on the bottom shelves for them to, you know, abscond and draw on, right?
Or like rip to bits. Yes.
Exactly. So all my stuff is up high. But,
yeah. There were Sharpie incidents in my house. I know how this goes.
Exactly.
That's when we repainted.
Yeah. So the bookcase that's in my office is right behind my desk.
Yeah.
And I don't have a ton of space in there because, again, like I said, the kids are taking over the bottom half, and now they're teenagers. I could probably kick them out of those spaces, but I haven't yet. So I prioritize games that I'm actively playing go on that shelf.
Yeah.
so that this way, when I'm working on my game, like when I'm working on adventures, whatever, I can just go get the physical books. Like I can literally turn around in my chair, stand up, grab it, sit back down, and go back to work. And now that I'm running games online, then the books are right there as well. But I normally play in the basement when in the pre-COVID times,
non-pandemics.
So I would I would just take the books with me down to the basement for the game, and then when I came up from the basement, just shelve them back on the shelf.
Yeah.
And this goes to one of my favorite French terms, right? Like this is like
mise en place.
Yeah, like prepare your space. Because here's the thing. If you have bookshelves all over your house, as most geeks would love to have, right? And you have your games scattered about in, your den, your living room, your game room, whatever. If you're working on an adventure, like you're working on your campaign or whatever, and the book you need that you use all the time is across the house, like that's not an efficient use of your time, right? I mean, this interrupts cognitive cycles, right? Because now you get up, so you're like, I'm going across the house to get the book. Oh, look, the kitchen, right? Like, oh, I should stop in and make myself a cup of coffee, right? And then you're just like, you wind up talking to somebody, you're all over the place, right?
I'm very lucky in that just like through sheer happenstance, not through sheer happenstance, I did this intentionally. What am I saying? Every bookshelf that has actual books on it in my house is actually in my office with me. It is secondarily a library, but that was a specific decision, right?
Super convenient, right?
Yeah, it means I always know if I'm looking for a book, it's in here. The bookshelves that are in my basement just have craft stuff on them.
Yeah.
So these 4 shelves...
Now, I will say, because people will be like, hey, I can put the book anywhere I want because I can open up the PDF on my computer while I'm working on the game. You are absolutely correct.
Yeah.
You are 100% correct. If that's a thing you like to do, and I do it for games as well, then that's totally fine. But I also like to flip through my books.
Right. And then so all of this advice is sort of working from the perspective of you want to work from the physical books.
Yeah. Let's just make that an assumption.
We're kind of working from that assumption, and obviously if you don't care about having the physical book in your hand and you just want to have the PDF on your iPad or whatever, then this is pretty moot.
Well, then we have some other categories that'll take place after this, right? Like there's some other categories that are that then become more relevant, but. But also, I will say the prioritizing of your books may be moot if you have everything in PDF and that's how you actually use it. Right? Exactly. Right. And then we'll get into just how to order stuff, which we'll talk about shortly. Okay. So that's our first category. Our first category is like put the books that you're going to actively use for your game near you. Right. And near you is going to depend on how you work and where you game. Like if your gaming room has bookshelves and there's shelves like behind you where you GM, maybe that's where you want your active books so that during a game you can just kind of turn and take it off a shelf. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you want it close to where you prep your game. These are going to be basically, based on your workflow preferences and how much you actually need the book.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's fine. Okay.
Was that still only the first one?
That's the first category.
Oh, boy.
Second category is that they're books that you're interested in reading.
Yes.
And you want to just make sure they're accessible so that you can get to them.
Right. And so that they don't get forgotten and mixed in with your older stuff.
Yeah, like if you're me and you back a bunch of Kickstarters and then kind of forget that you backed them, and boxes show up to your door and you're like, what's in this?
Oh,
surprise.
Presents from my past self.
Exactly. Yeah. So then I like to keep those books out. I'm going to pause for 1 second and make another assumption. The first assumption was that you actually want your physical books around to game with. The second physical assumption is that you do not have, you have more game books than you have bookshelves. You may need to actually put other things on bookshelves, like books. Right.
Like the rest of my books?
Yeah, like your fiction collection, your nonfiction collection.
No, you are looking at nonfiction behind me. This is nonfiction from about halfway through the second shelf down.
Okay, so I'm going to say that that's a general assumption. Some people may be able to fit all their games on the shelves they have. I think you can. I can't even come close to that. Right.
Yeah.
And then there are just some people like the Gaming Bell Hopmo Tusino who has wall of shelves. and is able to fit
Right.
all their games.
You know whose bookshelves I would like to see, or like whose organization structure I would like to hear? Actually, would be Jim Likes Games.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure Jim's got some ideas on this.
He's got some.
For a second, I thought you were going to say Ken Hite, and I was going to be like, I've seen pictures of Ken Hite's place. I don't think organization is exactly the word I would use.
No. I want to see Jim.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, send us your shelfies.
Shelfies. Okay. So the next one. So this category is the games you are interested in. Like maybe you're going to play them in the near future. Maybe you want to read through them. Maybe they just came in from a Kickstarter and you're like, on the weekend, I want to find it or whatever.
I'm going to flip through this.
And you don't want to just leave it on your desk or shove it somewhere. Like you might want to have some space, some part of your bookshelves for games that you're interested in. That is what my primary shelf downstairs in the basement is games that I have an interest in, but I'm not actively playing. Like,
sure.
I might want to pull this out and look at it. I might want to reference it or whatever, but nah, like it doesn't need to be upstairs for whatever reason.
Priority 2.
That's priority 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Priority 3, which I think falls into a lot of, will be pretty popular with a lot of us, is showing off.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look, part of having a collection is displaying your collection. Right?
Yes,
I mean,
agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
I specifically set up my Zoom space to show off my bookshelves. Not that anyone can see what's on them.
Well, they don't need to. They see
the
books,
point.
Right?
They see many books, and it looks like I feel like it looks like one of those backgrounds that people put pictures in.
It does. Like, it would if there wasn't the She-Ra. The romantic She-Ra picture.
There is a romantic She-Ra picture, and then there's also you can see the legs of Loki kittens.
Yes.
Right there.
I can see that. So look, there is nothing wrong with showing off your collection. Maybe you've collected a whole series of, like maybe you have an extensive 3.5 WotC collection. For a while, I had on display on one of my bookshelves, I had acquired all the Decipher Star Trek books. At a substantial discount. I really eBayed the shit out of them. I did a really good job of finding them for not a lot of money. And I had all those and they're really pretty books. So I had them all lined up in order, on a shelf. It's perfectly fine. I have all my players' handbooks from the, I want to say mine's a second printing because I don't think mine was an original AD&D Player's Handbook. I'm pretty sure mine's like a second printing or something, second or third printing. But it's the one when you see pictures of the old Player's Handbook.
Yeah.
You
have that one.
Boy, I'm old.
Yeah. As we have recently discussed. Speaking of
I don't even play D&D anymore, but I would still, if I had enough shelf space, would put all my D&D hardcovers out.
Yeah. I definitely have all my 3rd edition, my 3rd edition trio, right? The big 3. And then I have my 3.5 trio. And then I have my Pathfinder stuff and a bunch of the splat books that go with that. And I have some splat books mixed in with my various editions of D&D. What's really funny is because by the time 5th edition came out, I had kind of lost my drive to play that game specifically and genre. Just fantasy more generally. So I have all of the 5th edition books, but my kiddo started playing it, so I think there's some of them living on my shelf, but they're mostly on his shelves at this point. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't have any nostalgic attachment to the 5th edition books.
Yeah. So I have an obscenely large vampire collection from the 90s.
Yeah.
It's not complete by any stretch of the imagination. There were a lot of vampire books, but I got a lot of them, right? And they're pretty, right? They're pretty to look at, they're pretty to flip through. I say this when before COVID times, I would go to Jerry's house. Co-host of the Misdirected Mark, and Jerry has a very beautiful set of bookshelves full of older games. And the first couple times I went to his house, like I just waxed nostalgic by like, can I take this off the shelf? Right? Can I just look at it? Yeah, I would just be like, oh, I haven't seen this game in like 20 years, kind of thing, and just flip through it, kind of thing. So, absolutely. Showing off your collection is totally a thing. It's totally fine. And when we say show off, I don't want anyone to think it has the negative connotation of like, you're showing off your collection. No, man, like, you collected it. Like, you display it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the thing with showing off is it doesn't have a functional use, right?
No.
Because you're not actively playing those, and you're not like, oh, this is the set I'm trying to like, I'm trying to work my way through. They're just out, right? They're just out to look nice,
yes,
and to be accessible. Okay, and then the last section is not everybody may make the shelf, so some of these things need to be archived.
Yeah, so this is the one that I don't have problems with because my problem with this actually comes in the digital form.
Yeah.
Right? Which we talked about before, right? But so when you talk about storing, these are the ones that you don't have shelf space for.
Yep.
And so you've decided these are the ones you don't want them out for looks, and you're not actively using any of them. So these ones are kind of going into the fridge, the deep cold.
Yeah. Now, like if you have a house, you might have ample storage room. Like when I moved into my house, like I shoved like 3 crates of games under the stairs in my basement.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're like once in a blue moon, I need them. And I like will haul them out into the laundry room, pull something out of it and shove them back into the staircase. Right. Yeah. They're never like those books aren't going to see the light of day until I get like many, many more bookshelves.
Yes.
But I also can't quite like for reasons can't bring myself to get rid of them. Right. Like, so for instance, I have like, AD&D modules, like they don't really need to be up anywhere at this point, but I also don't want to get rid of them because they're just like, I have fond memories of them.
Yeah, for sure.
And I tend to keep the game books from all the games I've run. Like if I've had
you're keeping mementos of the experience.
Yes, exactly. Right. So these are things I definitely want on display. Okay. Yeah. So those are our categories. Those are the ways that you could sort them. And then when it comes to organizing them, right, these are going to be pretty intuitive. Like there's no mystery in these.
No, but have you seen, so there's definitely a meme going around the Twitters probably other places as well that is like it's the lawful, neutral, evil, chaotic, neutral, chaotic. Oh man, how have I just screwed up my D&D life?
Remember that time when you couldn't remember the planets in Star Wars?
Shut up.
Just saying.
Okay, good, neutral, evil.
Yes.
Chaotic, neutral, lawful. I totally mix those together. But so there's a meme going around that is like, how you organize your books. And so like there is like the, lawful good, you alphabetize everything. There's the chaotic evil, which is you file them by color. There are options.
Yes. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna take a page out of one of my favorite books, which is Getting Things Done.
Sure.
Where David Allen talks about organizing your filing cabinet, right? Right. And there are all sorts of systems for organizing your files and papers and whatever. And I have always loved this approach, which is you should file it under the thing that you think you're gonna look for it. Like the term you're going to look for it by, right? Like, don't make up a fancy scheme with alphabet, with alphabet markers or like if it's shit for your car, just write on the folder like car and then put it in C, like up front, because then when you're like, oh, I need to find that folder for the car. Right? Yeah. So my advice to you when it comes to organizing your games on the shelves, like actually organizing them on the shelves, is to do that, right? Like the goal of taking them off the shelves, like, is to find them and take them off the shelves. So put them in an order that is intuitive to you. I will tell you what's intuitive to me, right?
Tell me yours and I'll tell you mine.
Sure. What's intuitive to me is grouped by game.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I like, like I want all my 3-5 stuff in one spot, because when I'm like, oh, I need to find something 3-5, what I'm going to see on the bookshelf is I'm going to see the spine of one of the hardcovers. Right. And I know what that looks like. I can spot my player's handbook right from across the room. So I go right to that section of the shelf, and then I will go core books on the left, and then to the right of that, supplements, modules, things like that, right?
Yeah.
And typically in some sort of height order, right? So I don't like things incongruent. I don't like this is very a type of me, right? I don't want tall book, short book, tall book, short. Like I will fix them. Like after I get them grouped into the correct grouping, I will fix them by size. I don't alphabetize because if you alphabetize, like I don't alphabetize because then if I take it out, I have to remember exactly where to put it, as opposed to this is the 3-5 supplement chunk, and just part the books and stick it back in.
Yeah. So mine are organized first by size and then by grouping, right? So that means that all the D&D books, all the Pathfinder books are grouped by edition and by game together, and then like Ryutama, right? And what else is over there? I don't remember, but the other like 8.5 by 11 full textbook size things, right? But then after that are all my weird sized books, and those ones are alphabetized by the name of the game because they don't have any additional splats or anything, right? So then they're just alphabetized by the name of the game, so that I have like when I'm like, headspace starts with H, there it is, blue, right? Like,
I will.
So do you organize your Powered by the Apocalypse?
Yes.
In a chunk together, and then see, I don't do that. They're just alphabetized.
I have PBTA books, and then in size order. I have Fate books, size order. Right? Like
You're making me rethink my organization system.
I like them by system because again, when I think about it, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm looking for Transit. Transit's a PBTA game. It has an orange cover, right?
Sure.
Those are the two things I remember. So where are my PBTA games? Over there. Oh, Transit.
Right. Like, see, I don't have, again, this is partially a thing because my print collection is much smaller.
Right.
So, like, it's just not big enough to cause me, like, the Powered by the Apocalypse books, even if I put them in one chunk, would not be on a different shelf from Fate anyway. Right? Like, so I'm looking at the same shelf, and then I'm just like, Fate is under F.
Right. There's a scale, right? There's going to be a scalability thing here, right?
Yes.
Like depending on how many bookshelves you have, depending on how much space you have to deploy bookshelves, those kinds of things will determine how much of your collection or how big your collection is will determine how many shelves you're using. Like I said, I have 3 large plastic totes full of books that are not shelved. Yeah. And if I shelved them, I could fill up a room, right?
Oh, yeah.
And not to brag, but just, 40-something years of gaming.
It'll do it.
And again, I like the idea of grouping them. So grouping them by system because I like the, usually the core book. Is kind of the indicator.
It's the one that you remember most clearly.
Like if I'm looking for the Giovanni handbook from Vampire, right? Yeah. All I need to do is find the Vampire book, right? So look towards the, World of Darkness section, look for the green cover, bammo. Okay, good. And then move over, right?
Yeah. Even I know what that cover looks like.
Yeah, of course you do, right? Like, of course.
But I never played it. I just built a character for it and then the game died.
We'll play Undying sometime.
Yeah, okay.
You'll like Undying better.
No, I want to play Monster Hearts.
Oh, I want to play Monster Hearts. I want to play Monster Hearts, and I want to play Monster Hearts with you. Like, I've purposely not played Monster Hearts because I'm waiting to play it with you.
I know someone who might run that for us. Anyway.
Even if we don't know somebody who run it, I will run it.
Oh, no. Okay. Or you can run it, but I do know somebody.
Yeah. We probably both know somebody.
Yes, we do.
Anyway, okay, so the last part of this is, like, there may be some books you're going to want to, like, display special. Like, maybe you have a rare copy of something, and maybe you want to get one of those little book stands and put it on the bookshelf facing out.
Right, look how pretty you are.
Yeah, like, I mean, for instance, like, I have a first edition copy of Whispering Vault. And it is the the plastic comb-bound version of it. You cannot, I got this thing in a Gen Con auction. It's not super easy to find. I super love it. And it's got a really sick cover because if you've ever seen the logo of the Whispering Vault, this was almost the tattoo I got. I don't have any tattoos, but I almost settled on this one because the image is so kick-ass. Anyway, it would look fantastic facing out instead of just having the plastic comb.
Right, just the comb sticking out.
It would look really cool facing out. Okay. Now, last thing we got to talk about when it comes to game parts is boxed games.
Yeah, boxed games.
Star-Crossed.
Star-Crossed, your second edition Fiasco. Signs, Fall of Magic.
Listen, the first couple we named are all things that fit nicely on a shelf, and
until
then
we
Fall
said
of
Fall of Magic. Yes, which I remember when you got that at Gen Con, and you had to carry it around in your bag, and it was sticking out.
It can only stick out.
Because it was taller than a backpack.
Yes. So box sets are going to be a little different. Box sets, you're going to, you can still shelve them. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't recommend shelving them vertically, but there will be people who will do it. I like mine sitting. Mm-hmm. So I might stack a bunch of, in fact, I have on my bookshelf, I have a bunch of box sets and I have them all sitting stacked on top of each other, and then books next to it.
Yeah. Mine are stacked in with my board games, which handily enough are on the shelf, the top shelf of the same bookcase that has my RPGs on it. So works out well for me.
Yeah. And I think that one's it's going to be tricky because, you're going to have to kind of work your box sets in with unless you do what you did and move your box sets over to your board games, you're going to have to work your box sets in. But I think from a design perspective, they're kind of cool ways to break up, a row of books. You can put a couple box sets in the mid, on one side of a shelf and have books on it, or, put it in the middle and break up the two sides. You have some options.
Yeah. It's good. They're good stuff.
All right, so that is organizing books. I told you, look, we just knocked off 30 minutes on...
We can just talk about this forever. Because, the other thing about this is, and I will just say this honestly, because this is the funny part of this entire conversation to me, is that my print game books are limited, but I have so many books, y'all.
Right. I will make one last mention before we move off of books.
Yes.
The other thing is, if your collection is constantly growing, you may need to... Well, if your collection is constantly growing and your bookshelves are not,
yes,
then you may need to go through a process by which you have to move things through different sections. So for me, when I am done playing a game, I take it off of the active shelf and move it downstairs to the interesting pile. Because I'm pretty much my Tales from the Loop game, which I ran for quite some time, is now downstairs because I don't need it anymore.
You don't need it in your face.
But then when I run out of shelf space in that section,
yes,
then some of that stuff has to go get archived.
Yes,
some of that stuff's just I don't have enough shelf space, and so some of those have to go into boxes. Which is where all of my Decipher Trek books are right now, because Star Trek Adventures exists, and all my Decipher Trek books are now in a box. Archived.
Or you can do the far more painful thing if you don't have archiving space, which is what I have had to do with my books several times, which is just go through all of your books and see what you're keeping and what you're not.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you could fire sale them, right? So you can, eBay them, or you could put it out on the internet hey, if you pay for postage, I will send any of these to you.
Yep.
There are ways to do that. But there is a process by which you may need to, over time, kind of move things around.
Yep.
And just keep that in mind, right? If you're constantly growing your collection because you're backing Kickstarters or buying new games, whatever, those need homes. And I don't do that continuously. What winds up happening is I wind up shoving a whole bunch of shit on on top of books and whatever, and in front of the books. And then one day I look and I'm like, all right,
totally
I just put it in my to-do list, clean up bookshelves, right? And then semi-annually I rotate stuff around.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Good to move on from books?
Yeah, I think so, which means that from here we should talk about accoutrement.
accoutrement. All right, so you've got all your other gaming stuff.
Yes.
This is a little trickier because these are not as ordered. Like, books are really nice in that they're, rectangular square.
Yeah, they're like
they stack
shapes.
nicely, right?
They stack, they stand.
Right. But all your other shit, like your dice and your cards and all, like these things are things you're gonna want to keep together.
Yep.
And again, I will refer to the categories that we used before, right? Some of this stuff is for your active games.
Yes.
You're going to want those things near where you are playing or near where, probably near where you're playing. Because there aren't too many games that use cards where the GM uses them for reference. They're more like the GM's using them during the actual game.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you might be using
So you're going to want
cards
that
instead of
stuff.
dice. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're going to want your card. You're going to want the stuff that you're actively using. And I know, like my GM kit that has my dice that I'm currently my current favorite dice, like that's all in one space, right? Where that's accessible.
Yep.
And then you might have other stuff that you might be interested in.
You might have your secondary dice and the dice that you loan out to people. You might have the specific dice that are your good dice, but only for that one game when you need like 50 D10s
sure.
like a complete set of, matching D6s where you need like, I can't remember how many that ends up being like.
I'm with you.
It's 20 of them or whatever, but they, so yes. Yep. When you have specific.
You might have dice you want to show
purposes.
Off, right?
Yes.
Like for instance, just out of nostalgia, when 3rd edition was coming out, I went to Origins to look at the print copy of 3.0 before it released. It released in September, and in July we went to Origins to look at it specifically as a day trip. I may tell it in the Bamboo Lounge.
Yeah, I think I've heard the story. Yeah.
But when we were there looking at the book and kind of like, oh yes, like we're going to totally play D&D when it comes out, I went and bought a set of dice for that game. And I still have them, and I don't use them for anything else. They were the game I used for my first 3.0 campaign, and I just kept them.
Yeah.
All right. They're referred to as Core's dice because that's the only character that ever used those dice was my character Core.
Yeah.
And he was a half-orc barbarian. Just saying. I'm not going to tell you about my character, but I'm telling you about my character.
You're totally telling us about your character. Please continue.
No. We gotta stay on topic. So anyway,
that's what I mean. Dice.
Yeah. So Core's dice are actually Core's dice are actually in a small clear plastic box that I keep in a storage drawer. Like I could take them out and look at them. And if I had more space, maybe I would, do something nicer with them and, put them up on display or something. But my game room space is a bit constrained. So I have like a series of these plastic drawers that you can buy at Office Max. And I have them on a shelf. And I just put all my, decks and cards, tokens, all that shit into those drawers.
So I lucked out in this, and it's actually pretty funny because I kind of despise this bookshelf otherwise. The bookshelf that has both my board games on it and my RPGs is a reclaimed media center, which the reason I don't like it is because it's about 6 inches deeper than all of my other bookshelves, so it sticks out into the room a bunch and takes up a bunch of unnecessary space that It really doesn't need to, because nothing that I have on it is big enough to justify that depth. However, having said that, it means that the top 2/3 is all bookshelves.
Yep.
And then the bottom third is a series of drawers of various sizes.
Right?
It's so good. And that's literally why I still have that bookshelf, because I need those drawers.
Yep.
So it has 2 little drawers that are actually right underneath my RPGs, in which I have sorted my decks and dice, and they're sorted by, how frequently I use them, like my all the time dice versus my somebody forgot their dice and needs to borrow some dice. And then underneath that is a larger drawer that contains all of my past notebooks that are full, and notes and previous campaigns that I've run, yada, 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 print stuff.
Yep.
So like then they kind of go down from there. But the little drawers that are super handy, those ones have the decks, the dice, the tarot cards, all of that stuff.
So I have a couple drawers, like these plastic drawers that I like plastic drawers that I bought from Office Max. That's what holds most of those components, right? Extra dice, whatever. The other thing I have for when I'm playing face to face, so when I'm playing at my table, is I have this rolling filing cabinet. It's a 3-drawer plastic rolling filing cabinet. And the top 2 drawers are just like normal drawer height. And in those, I keep like all the things I actively use for games, like my current set of dice, initiative tokens, my fate kit.
Whatever you need for that. Yeah.
My fate kit is in those drawers. So if I'm going to play Fate, I have all my tokens and all my dry erase cards or whatever. The third drawer is a hanging file drawer. And that is where all my laminated handouts for games. That's where all my character sheets for games I've played or campaigns that we played are all in there.
Yeah, that's my bottom. That's my big drawer over here.
The older the game is, the further back in the drawer it is.
Yeah, it's just further towards the bottom.
The first hanging file, the folders in that are always whatever I'm currently
the stuff
playing.
You're doing right now. Yeah, that makes lots of sense.
Because then I only have to open the drawer like an inch and then pull out the
There's
folder with everything there.
Yeah.
And that thing I like because it's rolly. So when I'm not playing, I push it back against the wall. And on game night, when I sit at the head of the table in the GM chair, I actually pull it over because it's lower than the table.
Yeah.
And I put it right next to me, and I have like extra table space.
Yeah. And
like I can
it has
stack
all
a
your
few
stuff
books
in it.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So what works out great in that respect.
BT Dubs.
So
we should
we do
think
need to
about how to wrap this. Yeah.
We do need to wrap up. So in summary, when we're talking about physical organization, it's really coming to understand what are the different uses for your books, games you're actively playing, games you're interested in, stuff you want to show off, and stuff that honestly you want to keep but you don't really need out, right? And the first part of your organization is going to be making that cut.
Yes.
Right? Like just taking a look at your games and look, it's okay to make mistakes because you can just take shit back out.
Just switch it around later. Yeah. Like as long as you haven't given it away, you can always change your mind.
You might sort all that out, put everything up on the shelf, and then be like, oh shit, I've got like 8 inches of empty space that I would rather fill up and not leave blank.
Yes.
You go into the archive and pull a few books out and
stuff out.
Just stick them in there. As for how you're going to arrange them, right, everyone's going to have their own gimmick. I personally, like I said, I like to put things in places where my brain will simply find them. I don't want to overthink where to find stuff because that's how you lose stuff. Right?
Sure.
A system that is too complicated, like, everything is in alphabetical order by title, and now I need to find like the Sunless Citadel. Did I put it under T? Did I put it under Dungeons and Dragons? Did I put it under S for Sunless? No, it's Sunless Citadel. It was a 3rd edition. It was a 3rd edition game. Oh, 3rd edition Player's Handbook Spine. Look to the right. Bammo.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you're going to come up with your own system for that. And here's the thing. None of this is set in stone.
Yeah.
So like one spring day when you got like a free weekend and you're like looking around and you're like, fuck it. I'm going to
rearrange all my books. Not that I have done that.
Totally. I've done it too. I love it.
I absolutely did it last year. And then I did it twice last year because I pulled all of my books down and I went through all of them and I redid all of them. And then I was like, boy, I'm going to take the wallpaper down in my room and repaint it. So I took all the books down again. And then I ended up going through them again as I put them back on the shelves, which is why there's a little bit of space on the bottom shelf behind me for me to now put many new books on.
Which is also perfectly fine, right? To leave some space for future growth.
Oh, yeah. Which I already have to push everything down because Gideon and Harrow the Ninth go at the top right-hand corner.
You're welcome.
Of this shelf. Yeah. They're the best, but they're not going to fit with the other M's, so they're MU, so they have to go up here. Anyway,
wrapping it up. I told you we could make a whole topic out of how to organize stuff.
Never doubted you.
Thank you. Would you please tell us about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network, and I'll then close this out.
Boy, will I. I think what I should talk about tonight is bonus experience. because those gals are fantabulous. And so they do a show in which they talk about all sorts of cool game stuff, kind of like what we do, but they are speaking specifically from the perspective of queer people who also design games, which is also cool.
Play and design.
They're very fantastic, and they're very funny.
Fantastic. And they're very funny.
They do funny bits because they are also funny and good at talking about funny things.
I love how you are literally just making this up off the top
I
of
am
your head.
absolutely. I'm sorry. Did you expect me to plan this? Because
You're like, it's a podcast.
I've been going
There's some
full
people
bespoke
on it. Yeah. No, it's
on
fine.
on the like other podcasts since the pandemic started.
Say, Sunda.
Yeah.
Where can people reach us on the internet?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at Pandas Talk Games. You can find us in the Misdirected Mark forums, which is forums.misdirectedmark.com. Or you can drop us an email, panda@misdirectedmark.com. Or if you really want to, you can find us on the TikTok.
Yes, we're slowly working our way into the TikTok.
Stitch me a topic and we'll use your audio.
Yeah, that's coming. That's coming. All right, cool.
Sorry, once they find us in one of those places, what can they do with that information?
Yeah, you should absolutely leave us a topic.
Yeah.
Stitch it in if you're on TikTok. Post it if you're on any of the other ones.
Yep.
Look, we really love to do the show about the things that matter to you. We're ridiculous. Like, we'll sit around and talk about almost anything.
Including how to organize your books.
If left to our own devices, we'll talk about pretty much anything. So we really would rather talk about things that you might find of use. And in this case, our topic came from Andrew, who's actually moved into their new house and is unpacking. And so, this was a very topical,
this was timely.
Topical question.
Timely.
Yeah. So please do that. We pride ourselves on doing the show. Over 90% of our topics come from all of you. We occasionally do one when we fancy it, but mostly we like to do them for you. If you like what we do here elsewhere on the Misdirected Mark Network, please consider supporting our Patreon campaign. Go to patreon.com/MMP. Patrons of the show get the Bamboo Lounge, as we've named it. The Bamboo Lounge for this show, the after show from Misdirected Mark, access to the Slack room for life, which has really been my oasis during the pandemic. Like, it's our home, it's our community, it is the people that I have shared all my feelings during lockdown with. And I love them. We also do a luncheon with our patrons every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I call it a luncheon because I'm eating lunch.
Yeah,
you bring whatever food you want
for me.
Yes, you bring. If you're a hobbit, bring your second breakfast. If you're in England, bring a pint because it's the end of the work week. Whatever it is, it's fine. We just love having everyone there and seeing everyone. Which is great. If you are already supporting the Patreon campaign, thank you very much. It helps us immensely, right, to do all the things that we do on the Misdirected Mark Network. If you are unable to support the Patreon campaign, we totally understand. But there is another thing you can do. And again, really quick, it supports our if you listen to us, you will love us. And that is to get other people to listen to the show. Obviously, you've already told all your friends ad nauseum. They don't want to hear you talk about this show anymore. We understand. There is still one more thing you can do to get strangers to listen to the show. What's that thing?
Well, you could leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice. Every new review we get really does actually help new people find the show because search algorithms and stuffs. So we super duper appreciate them, and also they make us feel warm and fuzzy on the inside because artistic validation is a thing. So if you leave it somewhere that we're not going to see it, which is pretty much anywhere that's not the US Apple Podcast Store because it's really hard to track all the locations for this stuff, let us know. We'll go look at it. We love reading them. And then we'll say thank you because we are also polite pandas.
Yes, indeed.
Right?
Say, Sunda, show me where you are going to put all of your Star Trek books when we start playing Star Trek later this year.
Show me what you got, hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got, hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got, hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got, hey, show me what you got.
This show is a joint production of She's a Super Geek and Misdirected Mark Productions, the media arm of Encoded Designs.
Show me what you got, hey. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Waveforms. I should
Waveforms.
change microphone now.
Waveform good.
Waveform good.
Okay, your microphone's good?
My microphone is good.
Okay, good. I'm going to just tip mine back a little so I can lean back against the wall. Okay, you want me to do the Bamboo Lounge intro?
Yeah, do you want to do the Bamboo Lounge intro? Do we want any conversation in it, or just do you want to do the intro?
Let me just let me just try a few things and we'll snip out the piece we want.
Sure. We can put the rest in the outtakes.
Yeah. I was thinking something like "Welcome, bienvenue."
Oh, yeah, like welcome and bienvenue, welcome, attendez, stranger. Happy to see you. Je suis enchanté.
Come in. We've been waiting for you. Come, enter
I don't
the
know the
Bamboo Lounge. I don't know about that one.
I don't know.
Let me try a super serious
If I
one.
knew the words, maybe.
I know, right? All right, let me try one.
Sure.
Just good evening. May I take you to your table? Please come inside. Ah, yes. Is this your first time? Is this your first time coming to the Bamboo Lounge? Well then, pull up a seat and grab some leaves and a stalk of bamboo and sit back and enjoy the show.
Da, 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 da.
I could literally just make one every week.
I don't want to.
You know what?
I don't want to.
Well, all right, was that one okay?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. So the thing is,
All right, hang on.
like,
I'll do an announcer one. Ready?
I've got the soundscape.
No,
right?
it's okay.
Like, so I don't want to do it every week.
That's fine. All right, ready? I'll do another one. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Bamboo Lounge for 10 to 15 minutes of nonsense from two pandas. Try one more of those. Let me try one more of those.
That one.
Ladies and gentlemen. No. Wait, what's the one? Wait. What's the... I forget how they do it on TikTok. Yeah. It's like the theys, the gays,
gays.
Yeah.
It's the girls, the theys, and the gays.
Right. Yeah. We'll not do that one. Okay. I got it. Bloop. How's that?
Yeah, that was good.
I think that's
it had
a good
to have
one.
a giggle in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bloop. Cue music.
Yeah.
Boom,
Do,
boom.
do.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.